Hey, welcome to Scooter's DIY Garage, and the issue we're fixing today is around a 2014 Prius V. I bought it used, and it's a great car, works well. However, when you lock the door, you notice that little lock button, if you lock it or unlock it, switches. But if you go over to the passenger side and I lock it and unlock it, it's not switching. Now, I can manually lock it and unlock it, but it will not do it by either the internal control or by the key. So that tells me there's something wrong with the actuator, the little mechanism in the door that locks it and unlocks it. So we're going to try to take the door apart and install a new actuator door locking mechanism, and let's see if we can get this fixed. Okay, so here's the door in question, and the first steps that we need to do is there's a Phillips head screw down there that we're going to need to get out, and there's a little panel here. We're going to pop that panel out and get to another Phillips head screw. That's the first way that we get the door off. So first off, we're going to get this little Phillips head screw out, which is down underneath, I guess, the handle for the door. So that'll be step number one. Number two is we have to get this panel out. And you can use just a simple little, the plastic pry bars that they sell at Harbor Freight, super cheap. But these little guys won't do damage to the trim. Now that that little covering's out, you can see the little screw we have to pull out. And those are the only two screws that are holding this door panel in, and then we got to start popping the door off. So next up is we have to get the door popped off, and there's a spot underneath for your hand. It's right about here in the door, and if you look underneath, you can see where to pull that. So let's see if we can get that pulled off. So it pops off kind of loud. Got that side off. Get that off there. And there's a lip that goes across the top of the door, and we don't want to break that lip, so it's going to lift straight up. All right. Okay, so we got the door off, but we don't want to just pull it off because there's cables that are attaching, not cables, but wires that attach to the lock system and the window system. So we're going to have to go in and disconnect those wires, or you can do all kinds of damage. Hold on here. It's kind of hard to see in here. Hopefully you can kind of make it out, but here are the two cables. Here, this cable and this cable. One's green and one is just kind of white, and you'll notice they cross, and that's going to be important later. But these two cables have to be detached. Oh, I did not need to do that, but that's okay. So we just took the whole door handle out, and then we'll take care of that in a second. But we have to do these wires. So now you can see the two connectors that we have to pull out. Okay, so those are the two connectors. Remember, blue is closest to the hood, white is closest to the rear of the door. Okay, now we can take this out. Oh, I forgot to do something, so let me rehang this. Not a big deal, but we'll rehang this because we got to take this light out. So before we go pulling it all out, let's get that taken care of. So this is the door handle. Notice how they crisscross these two cables, and we need to pull these cables out of the door handle. So it's pretty simple to do. So you just pop it out here and weave it through. And remember, what's going to be is the green's going to be on the bottom. So we're going to pop it out here and then weave it through. Now we have our door handle. We can put that aside. So now is the difficult part, because we have to get this plastic sealed piece out of the way so we can get back in the door, and the piece we want to change is right here. So we're going to start by peeling this back, and it's kind of gross because this is going to be some sticky stuff. Okay, we gotta fish these cables through. Oh man, this is gross. And I'm gonna hope this is sort of enough room to be able to do our work, because we can now get our hand in. So this bolt's a 10mm head on it, so that should be a pretty easy process to get out here. Okay, so we got that out. Now this clip has a little tab. Hopefully it'll pull right out, and it does. Easy peasy. Okay, so what we're going to use is a T30, let's see, star point head, and we're going to get these three bolts out. By the way, it's important to note that this bolt that we took out right here holds it's actually right here, holds the guide for the window. So it's not specifically integrated with that, but it allows us to move that guide around a little bit, so we'll be able to get this out. All right, get that. Got that one, and here's our next one. Jiggle this around until we can get it out. All right, there we go. We got it. So now, let's go get the new one. Okay, so here's the one I bought. Now, I guess you can go different ways. If you bought this from the dealer, it's pretty darn expensive. It was in the $300 range. At the local auto parts stores, they were in like the $180 range for an aftermarket. I went to good old Rock Auto and was able to pick this up for 27 bucks, which is radically cheaper. But here's my thinking. I'm going to put in a $27 part, take out the old one, but I'm going to keep the old one and change the little actuator motor. So I have it on standby. So if this part is a piece of junk and only lasts 6 months, I'm out $27 plus whatever it's going to cost me for the little tiny electric motor when I rebuild the one that's currently in the car. And I have it for backup. It's a lot better than paying the entire crazy amount. Okay, so we took this first one off, and let's put it back in the new one. So it's not back in, it's going in for the first time. And you'll see you take it, you press that in, then you slide the cable so it hooks, and then this white piece snaps in, and now that first cable is in. So that's pretty simple. So now let's get the other cable off of the old one. So this cable, there's a little door here that covers how this cable goes in. So all you have to do is take a screwdriver, get into that old one here. There we go. You got to kind of peel that door open, which is kind of a pain in the neck. But so we got that open, and again, all you have to do, snap that bad boy out. And this one is a little hook thing. You see that? I don't know if you see it next to the car, but it's a little hook that goes into a little tiny hole there, and you've got to just kind of work that hook out. Now we need to move it onto the new one. So you got to get that door open. Okay. So we pried that door open. Hopefully you saw that. And then we got to get this little hook into that spot and snap it in as it was. Like that. And then we'll just close and snap the door. Okay, it's good and closed. Okay, so that's moving. Good, so now we have one that's ready to go. It's important to note that when we put this back in, there's a metal rod that is going to need to go into this piece. And when we guide it in, I can't show it to you, but as we guide it in, that metal rod needs to go into this hole, because that's what the outside door handle uses to open the door. So as you put it in, you're going to have to pay attention to that. Okay, so to get this in, we're going to put the two cables through the bottom and out the top, and then bring this in. Now this is, I wish I could show you, but you just gotta have to feel around to get it in the right spot. It's good to have one of these bolts ready to go once you have it squared away. Okay, I got the rod through. I got the line, or the plug in its hole. This looks about right. I'm gonna get one screw in, that'd be good, or one bolt in rather. And then I'll kind of just hold it in place for a sec while I mess with it. All right, think we have that in correctly. Just checking that metal rod one more time. Goes through, so that seems to work. All right, let's get the these little screws in. All right, so that's good progress here. So it is absolutely pouring outside. It's about, oh, it is 100% humidity and it's warm, and so weather will wear you out. All right, so now we have these sticking out. We'll get the plastic back across, and we've made some progress here. Okay, now we got to get these two things through the plastic again. And reattached this disgusting sticky stuff. Okay, we'll get that snapped in. All right, making progress. Okay, so I put the plastic on without putting the screw back in the window guide back here. So I had to take the plastic back off so I can get my hand in there and line it up. And if you remember, that was just a 10 millimeter, really simple. And we'll get that squared away so that the window's not messed up. All right, now we can reaffix the plastic now that I kind of messed it up. All right, it's all reaffixed. Okay, so when you go to put the door on, there's a few things you got to pay attention to. So first of all, the door just hangs on this top piece. So it has like a little lip that goes over that's going to hang on here. But before you hang it on here, you kind of have to push it up against the door, attach the two cables, which will be self-explanatory, attach the two a little tiny electrical connectors for the power windows and the power locks, and then make sure that you slip this through the hole at the bottom of the door panel so that you can affix the light later. So it's going to be hard for me to show you how to do that all, but you kind of just put it up against it, start connecting everything, hang it, and then we'll push against the door and it'll click back into place. All right, let's get that done. Okay, so I just snapped the door handle back in place. Really simple to do, just snapped it in from the back. So that way I'm just going to reconnect these as I hang the door. Okay, so I just snapped the two cables in. Now I'm going to snap the wiring harnesses in. 1, 2. Now I'm going to just fish this wire for the light. Make sure that comes out so I can snap that in. And then let's just hang this from the door. There we go, it's hung. And now we just gently start pushing the snaps. everything is snapped in. And now all we need to do is put the light back on this wire, a screw back in the handle, and then the piece of trim that goes there. And there's a screw that goes in that hole there. And hopefully it'll all work. So we'll test it in a moment. Okay, so I have the light ready to go. Snap it in. And then that just pops right in there. So we're good to go with the light. Really easy. Now let's get the screw in here and the screw down there. Okay, we'll get this screw in. Easy peasy. This one's probably going to be a pain in the patookus. Let's see. Could have been worse. Okay, that's good news. You can see the door is locking and unlocking. It means it's working. Perfect. Now I just have to put that plate, now I just have to put the plate in here, which will make that look pretty. And we'll give it a try. Next up, we need to put the piece of plastic back into the door handle. So that all snapped in, and we're good to go. So let's see if the door will open with the handle. Perfect. That is something I want to see. Let's see if it will open with the outside handle. To be honest, it feels a little different. So that might be that cheap part. Has like a little hitch in the giddy up, but it was 26 bucks and it didn't work before, so it's definitely an added bonus. And let's see about the lock. So you can see it's spinning now, so that's working. And let's see if it'll work with the my key fob. Oh, it won't work while the door is open. Let me get in. Now let's see if it'll work with the key fob. It's working.